Wow. I mean, it's been so much more than just the numbers too, but number wise, after joining your program in a year, we were able to triple our revenue. So, which
Wow,
was
that's awesome.
really, yeah, really amazing. TK, you mean a lot to me and my team also. I don't know how I could have gone through this earlier part of COVID without signing up for your program and all your encouragement. You've been through it, and I feel like you really understand. You understand what it's like, and you understand the internal struggles, and it means a lot to me to have someone like you who I can look to and feel understood so I can move forward.
Welcome to another episode of Sass and Scotch. I'm so excited to have Jess Lee from Bite Size here today. Jess, welcome to the show. So excited to have you on.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We've been working together forever. We've known each other forever. So maybe let's just take it from the top because the audience doesn't know. Tell us about Bite Size. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so Bite Size is a sales platform for dealerships, and we use a new way of texting to help them get more revenue. And what's really great about it that customers like is that you can use it across all departments of the car business. So it could be the sales department, service, parts, retention, customer satisfaction. A lot of people these days, they don't want to use multiple platforms in different departments. So we help do it in one. And it's a cool way to leverage what's in your database and people that haven't responded back to you and get them in and help generate additional profits for your business.
I love it. I have learned just from working with you, I've learned more about dealerships than probably I ever wanted to, but now I do. And one of the things that's interesting about SaaS is there's just so many types of software companies and so many different verticals and segments. So tell us a little bit around how you got into focusing on dealerships. Like, how did that become your ideal customer profile? Obviously, it goes a lot more detailed into just dealerships, but like, how did you come across the idea? What were you doing? Tell us a little bit about the backstory on this.
Yeah. So I guess I never thought of dealerships before either. I think most people's reaction to going to a dealership is like, eh.
How do I get out of here as quickly as possible, basically?
Yeah. And so it's an interesting business. How I came across it is I've been working in texting for quite a while. Before I got into Bite Size, I was a community organizer helping undocumented immigrants. And I had to text everyone one by one to get them to show up to a protest. So I was like, oh, is there an easy way to do this? So that's how the first idea came about. And after a while, a friend of mine introduced me to a general manager of a dealership. And at that point, I didn't know nothing about dealerships. And we did a first campaign. It was a complete failure. Everyone responded back so negatively. We almost gave up, but then the Rachel, the internet sales manager, was there. She wanted to try a campaign. It was for lease retention. And these are people who are almost about to be done with their lease, and dealerships want to get them back in to return the cars to them or buy the car out. So we did it, and then the rest is history. Next day, she sold 12 additional cars just like that, and we started really digging into the car business. I will say though, I after being in the car business for a couple of years now, what I do love about the car business is the hustle of everyone there. It's just incredible. It's like everyone is an entrepreneur, from like general manager or owner who's opening up their new store, and it's like they're running their business, and then all the way down to a salesperson or a BDC staff, which is kind of like a call center for the dealership.
Yeah.
They're also hustling and making their commissions, and they're dreaming about becoming a general manager one day. And it's just amazing. And people of all walks come through dealerships. So that's what I love.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because I've seen this pattern over and over. You may not have known about dealerships or that type of customer, but once you work in that world and you embrace that world and you work with your customers, you start to love them. You start to realize that these are people doing an incredible service to their customers, and you're enabling them. I felt the same way when I sold to salespeople. Like, I knew nothing about sales, but once I started working with salespeople, I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. I want to lead the religion around these people.
Really? What did you love about the salespeople?
Yeah. I close deals. It is fascinating because the one way you could have approached this is, how do I replace dealerships? On the other way, no, how do I give all the dealers an Iron Man suit so they have superpowers? And you're essentially giving them superpowers.
Yeah. I do believe that with all the changes that are coming, the dealerships are here to stay. Their roles might evolve a little bit. I do think it's really important to have these, entrepreneurs basically on the ground for the car industry.
As you started to get into selling more to dealerships, owning this, and you're like, oh my God, there's a thing here, text messaging can sell more cars. Got it. Tell us about your journey in go-to-market, being a founder and owning go-to-market, and what have you learned for the other founders that are like, oh, I know nothing about my target market either, but now I'm going to make it my best friend. What have you learned in your journey in starting to scale the company and really scale that go-to-market machine?
I have learned a lot. I'm sure I have a lot to learn as we go. But when I started with your go-to-market program, I think it was in the thick of COVID, everyone was newly staying home. And we did have a couple of dealership customers before, and everyone was stopping their checks. It was a terrible time. And I really wanted some extra help to navigate it. And we were all newly staying at home, working from home, and you just feel so alone. I'm there pounding my phone by myself. When we started really working on our go-to-market, what I learned is that it's really important to have the right message along with your sales motions. What we did by putting together a manifesto as part of the go-to-market program was to create a narrative that speaks to my audience, the pains that they're experiencing, what's not working, what could be better, and how to achieve their goals. And so that really helped me have a place to come back to when I'm experimenting across different channels, whether it's cold calling, emailing. I even did a few webinars actually.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And I guess before that, I was really skeptical of webinars. Nobody goes to webinars. Who goes to webinars? And then I did some. I remember some of our webinars had 40 attendees from dealerships. It was just amazing. And so it's good to test your assumptions and test different channels, but always be able to measure metrics and go back to the core of it. And so, yeah, it was really helpful to have a system instead of doing one-offs, one-off experiments. At the same time, I think as a founder, I don't know, you kind of think that you need to know all the answers to the problems, or that you can do everything yourself. And it's easy to get into kind of a rut where maybe my strength is cold calling. So I call 4,000 people and I just keep doing that without scaling the business and hiring people when it's time to hire them. And so, yeah, as a founder, I think it's possible to kind of over rely on your strengths. I learned that it's all about building a system, measuring the results, knowing when to delegate, and keep on building that system.
This is bringing back memories, because there's two things I want to dig into that I remember working with you on. One was the messaging. Like I remember what was powerful about your manifesto was you had all these success stories already. You're like, if you send 1,000 text messages, you will sell this many cars. Like this is what our customers did, which was really
Yeah.
cool. Because like your average GM at a dealer or like a support leader, like didn't know that. They didn't know the math around this many texts, this many new cars. Like, do you want to buy? Like, and that was like really in the manifesto, I find.
Yeah, it's like a slot machine.
Yeah, so I remember that in the manifesto where you were like articulating it. You're like, oh, and by the way, we can help you get up and running on a campaign really quickly. So it's like not every leader at a dealership was waking up saying text messages, like, but you were able to educate the market through it, which was like really cool to see because you had those that tangible story to tell. I remember.
Yeah. Text messaging is so broad that I think it's really important to have a value-based message because there's so many different ways that you can use text message. It's just a medium, it's a channel. It gets a job done.
Yep.
It's not the main focus. Yeah.
The second thing that I remember, like first was the manifesto and you just like owned it and ran with it. The second thing I remember was, I know you don't think about it this way, but if you like zoom out 10,000 feet, it does look like you are like, cool, I'm going to master this and boom, I'm going to put this person in and then I'm going to go master this and boom. But in those transitions, I remember we had a whole bunch of conversation like, oh my God, Jess, you got to get out of doing this. Like you got to move to this other thing now. Tell us a little bit about that because I know so many founders struggle with that. Like, on the go-to-market side, you embrace it. You embrace founder-led. You're like, cool, I'm going to do this. Kudos to you. But then you were also times where through some talking, you were like, cool, I'm going to hire someone to take this over. I'm going to recruit this person to take this over. Walk me through that process because I think others struggle with that too. And now looking back, if you were to look at baby Jess, right, like just like baby TK, it's like, what was it like letting go of certain things and hiring for certain things and moving on to the other parts of the business so you could scale?
Oh, there's so much to it. It has to do with knowing when to do that, but also I think your internal narrative also dictates like what you think you can do. And then the third part is what is your perspective on your runway and finances. So the first part, which is like I was already doing like 4,000 cold calls and I had good stats, this percentage of people convert into demo, that this percentage of demo converts into trial, and this much closes. I hung around cold calling for like a year straight because I guess I was trying to improve on my metrics. So I was under the impression that like I had to figure everything out and like be the best at it I can before I hire someone, which I don't really think is true. I think you want to maybe prove it for like 3 months max, and then like maybe move on. not like me, like hang around cold calling for a whole year, just like trying to increase my conversion rate. But at the same time, it was during COVID and the market was pretty turbulent. So it was important for me that I wasn't just hiring people without knowing really how long these customers were going to stay. Were we able to serve them correctly? And so after a year of data, I was able to see that customers stayed. And so I felt comfortable hiring salespeople. I wouldn't probably wait that long anymore, but that's what factored into it. And the second part is my confidence about being a new sales manager. I started my company when I was not this company, but before when I was 23. I was super young. I had only one corporate job before that. I was at a bank. I was a process improvement consultant. I didn't really have any experience of managing outside of my own companies and definitely not managing SDRs or A's. That's what I struggled with, is like figuring out how to do it, first of all, and trying to figure out when is the right time for me to jump into it. So I will say that before I found the salespeople that worked, I went through maybe like 7 salespeople. Yeah, I felt burned before, by my failures. And that's why it took me even longer to find someone. But What really helped get out of it was I hired an HR manager, like a part-time HR manager. And instead of me like scouring LinkedIn and trying to find someone that fits, I relied on that HR manager to bring the right people. And so that really helped save time and like prevent me from making like very subjective judgments. And so all I had to do was interview someone once that had already been through the process and hire them. Yeah, the other thing that helped was I signed up for like a sales. I got a sales specific coach. So I learned how to train SDRs better and to ramp them up in the correct way. And so that was really helpful. But even to get to that stage, I'm glad that I followed your go-to-market program and really be able to even be in that place to hire someone and be successful with it. And then the third part is like finance, like how I looked at my runway. I'd be kind of scared of investing money into hiring someone because I would be like, oh no, if we hired another person that we wouldn't be profitable anymore. And everything seemed like a big investment because I was thinking of it in terms of MRR. And I think thinking in terms of MRR is great sometimes, but what really helped me kind of take the risk of hiring more people to scale this business was realizing that, okay, if I hire someone, it's really a 3-month investment or however long it would take them to show an ROI. And so I would calculate that against what I have in the bank account or the ARR instead of just looking at the MRR and feeling like, oh, this is too much to invest. So that's really helping me to go further and take more risks.
That's awesome. I don't know if you see the pattern on this also, because every time you and I talked about, like the first was like, how do we get more pipeline? Okay. Once you have pipeline, it's easier to hire salespeople or SDRs that are not that, and it'll go up. The market's reacting. But I remember every time you hired a person or you brought on someone to take over a certain area, one was, yeah, you had to spend some more money, but they would like start paying for themselves. But the other was you were then able to go work on a different area of the business. And I remember every coaching call, you were then coming back with like, hey, this is another area where we really need to fix or get better at. Your bandwidth unlocked, and the price of that is unmeasurable to the runway or anything. And that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing to grasp as well.
Yeah, it is. Like right now, because I hired my 2 SDRs who are doing really well, I am able to focus on my demos and like how I run my demos, which is amazing. I just never got the luxury of spending that much time improving what I have. So I was busy doing 3 things at the same time. And taking steps like this that can seem risky to founders and kind of out of their comfort zone, I think sometimes we get attached to our business a little too much. Like our identity becomes very like enmeshed with the business. That's all we're thinking about, and that's like the definition of our self-worth. And I think it's a dangerous place to be. It's understandable why we all get there, but it was really helpful to be able to separate me and my business and work on building my life outside the business so that I was able to take more risks on my business and be able to see it for what it is, not what I hope it to be. And that really allows me to improve what I have today.
You're one of the CEOs in the go-to-market program. You're in platinum now, but that also does the Sunday exercise that we teach the CEOs. So you've always been really good about, hey, how do I run my own life as well as the business as well? And your personal life and your business is so intertwined. So what's that been like for you as you've gone through that journey of your identity and the business and scaling and letting go of things? Any advice for the folks listening that struggle with that kind of thing, which I know so many of us do?
Yeah. First of all, I'm such a fan of Unstoppable Sunday. I've been doing it for like 2 years straight now, it seems like. It's really amazing. It's just a simple thing you can do in like 15 minutes, right? but
Yep.
it gets rid of all your like anxiety and like yeah, things that make you like freeze up. Oh my God, what am I gonna do for the demos next week? Just makes everything clear to put it down on paper. So thank you, TK, for getting that out into the world and making our lives much better, because God knows this can be really difficult. I think, the founder journey, it doesn't just have to do with your business. It has to do with who you are and what brought you here today. And you have all your internal dialogues from ever since you were growing up and just like piling on with all the each failures that and rejections that you get in the startup life. What really helped me was to being focused on what do I actually want in my life and why am I really doing this, instead of comparing myself to other businesses that you see on TechCrunch or some kind of news, and just being like, well, that guy raised $80 million without a product. What am I doing here, sitting here, That's not really the point. The point is I realized that I am the main character in this story and I can make it whatever I want it to be. And part of that is being honest about what you honestly enjoy or not. Because you could have started your business for one reason 3 years ago, and now you don't care about that reason. And people change. And we have to be honest about why we're doing this. Instead, like once you start raising venture capital, you start to like evaluate your business from a VC's perspective. It's like, oh, well, the ideal way of growing your business is to get to 1 million ARR and then a year later get to 3 million ARR. And like, oh, if you fall behind schedule, then you're a failure. And it's just so easy to talk to ourselves like that. And I think if you measure yourself up to what the media is saying you should be, then 99% of the time you don't measure up to those high expectations. Not because you're bad, because it's not your story. Your story is unique, and what we bring to this world is all different and unique in a good way. So Unstoppable Sunday really helped me start my journey of being aware of how I even feel. Before that, I just try to minimize my feeling. No, like just ignore my feelings, or like I feel bad because I felt bad that I did bad. Yeah, and especially like coming from an immigrant background, and I grew up feeling like less than other people and kind of like beat myself down a lot. I remember I was like 25 years old. I got into 500 startups with my first company, and I was closing like 6-figure deals, And if I looked at myself now, a 25-year-old version of myself, I would be like blown away. Like, who is this girl? She's like 3 years out of college. She's closing 6-figure deals. Like, this girl is badass. But back then, I thought I was such a failure, even if I was doing well, because I was like comparing to some like invisible measures. And I also felt like I really wanted to help my parents. I kind of had this like time ticking bomb on the back of my shoulder, like just feeling like there wasn't enough time to help my parents. And so every day that I failed on something was like I wasn't good enough. And it's really easy to build up negative narratives like that. And what I know now is that does not help. I don't care, what it is, like negative narrative does not help. And what does help is positive attitude and thinking about the best next step, and not ruminating on your failures or whatever you think it is. So now I'm able to really look at what do I want in my life, not just for bite size, but myself. What do I enjoy? And so it's been a really rewarding experience, and I'm so much happier than I was before.
That's amazing. You know, what you just shared, so many people struggle with that comparison, not even a real comparison, it's a mythical comparison.
Mhm.
And I've seen your transformation and just getting so intentional about yourself and your business. You love your customers. You now take on more and more strategic ways to solve things for your customers. I remember the last strategy call we did where you're like, I think we can go after this one extra department. I'm like, I think so too. This is great. Like, and you know, you love it. Like, you actually love your customers, you love the business, and that's the goal, right? That's the real goal, where like, if you can do that, then anything is possible with, especially in software, because there's always a next best move to grow a software company when you know your customers love you and you love your customers in a way. And and for
Yeah.
you love yourself. You're not going to see that in a B2B case study ever, but it's like, when you love yourself, you're a better CEO. It's true. It's true.
You are. And, I learned that it's not about waiting to see if there's something you love about the business that comes by. It's about actually creating things that you love into the business and taking a
Yeah.
really active role in doing that.
You've gone through this incredible journey. Like, what's the success and the growth been like for Bitesize since you've joined the program and you've gone through all the strategy work? You're part of Platinum now. So what's the success been like for you from the business perspective?
Wow. I mean, it's been so much more than just the numbers too, but number wise, after joining your program in a year, we were able to triple our revenue. So, which
Wow,
was
that's awesome.
really, yeah, really amazing. And gotta get the percentage right, but more than half of our customers come from referrals, which is
Oh, I
also
love that. I love
amazing.
referrals.
Yeah, amazing growth engine. And so it's just been so powerful for me to see, let's say internet director at a dealership close so many more deals and acquire X many used cars and
Yeah,
be able to really be celebrated for their success, go on
yeah,
a nice vacation, get recognized in their business, be able to get a new, better job somewhere, and buy a new house, whatever it is. It's been
yeah.
really, really good to see their journey and be able to share that. Personally, what's really rewarding for me about the business outside of just money and revenue is I love understanding people's journey and where they come from, how they feel today. And so I love connecting with people at dealerships in that way. And also, while I'm building my business, my team members that are part of the company, I
Yeah.
love, understanding their journey too and seeing them, learning more about what they like to see in their life. And for me to be part of that journey and to hopefully be a support to get them there and being able to influence people that way. I really love it. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I've talked a lot about how I've been working on building my ideal life and my, dream life, which I have today and I really love.
That's awesome.
Um,
That's great.
yeah, yeah, it's really awesome. I feel very much alive and powerful in
Yeah.
shaping my own life. I want people who work with me to feel that way. And
Yeah.
so that starts with my team looking at what they want to achieve in their life. What is it that they're missing? A lot of us show up to work and maybe by the end of the day feel like maybe a little empty inside, like some people who don't get everything they could in a day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard to know what you want or what makes you happy because nobody asks you that when you show up to work. Well, not nobody, but so I really would love being able to even like help my team think about those things.
That resonates so much with me because we're in software, and this is counterintuitive, but it's nothing to do with the software. It's the people that use it. Like the people you work with, people whose lives you changed, seeing them use your software to go get promoted. Like for me, it was always special about who's getting promoted because they use our software, right? Like like the people are really what makes the difference, because in a way, our software are the change agents in their lives, whether it's our team or us or the customers that are using it. And that change agent is so leveraged because of software. You see so much incredible change, it moves you. And that's the kind of thing that really, I think, like that's what the best of us founders really are in it for.
Yeah. One customer told me the other day that our software had the highest ROI return out of all the softwares they ever used. That made me really happy.
That's it. Which one made you happier? That, or when you found out that, they went on this crazy vacation because they crushed their number because of what your software did?
I do enjoy the personal impact more, but
yeah,
I think, in whatever way you can improve people's lives or businesses, it's really, I'm grateful for the opportunity to do it and be part of it.
What's one thing that everyone joins the go-to-market program for sales and marketing? Like that's why, and I like to ask founders this because the answers have been interesting. If you have one, if you don't have one, it's fine. What was one unexpected thing you got out of joining Unstoppable over like the 2 years that we've worked together?
Unexpected. I don't know. I feel like everything was unexpected.
I had such low expectations.
Yeah, I think the unexpected benefit was being able to work on myself, not just the business.
We'll take it. Yeah, no one will pay us for that. That one you get for free in the program. Yeah.
What? I think it's the most valuable part, because all the bottlenecks you have in your business, I don't want to say you're responsible for all the bottlenecks, but a lot of it comes from what you think your limitations are and what you think is possible.
That's why we put it in there. It's like a lot of it is business is a reflection of the CEO and the leader the way they're operating. So that's why we have it in there. But even though that's not something anyone would sign up for, but they get, and they're like, oh, this was helpful.
What makes you so sure that it's not what people are going to sign up for?
Because that's how Unstoppable started. I started by that. And they're like, no, we want sales and marketing. I'm like, what, really? You want? And they're like, okay. I'm like, okay, sales and marketing. And sure enough, in the back end, they're like, hey, by the way, I'm burnt out. I'm like, hey, just listen to this thing. And they're like, this is great.
Yeah, by the way, I'm burnt out.
It's like, thank you for the success. I'm burnt out. I'm like, no problem. We have something for that. We're good. Jess, this has been so awesome. Tell us, where can people learn more about Bitesize? And if, I'm sure there's some founders listening that you were so gracious in sharing your own story. I'm sure a lot of them would connect with what you're saying. So if they want to connect just with you as a founder, where can they connect with you? Let's give us those two and we'll link to it below so that everyone can get in touch.
Yeah. Feel free to reach out on my email, jess@bitesize.co, or my LinkedIn profile. And you can find more about Bitesize on bitesize.co, or you can look up our new article on Automotive News.
Boom! Look at that. I love that. Jess, thank you so much. This was, I don't know if anyone could tell, I almost shed, I literally teared up at one part when you were sharing your personal journey. It means a lot for you sharing it. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your story. I know a lot of people will get value from it. And thanks for being part of Unstoppable and sharing your story. Thank you for doing this. It just means a lot.
Oh, TK, you mean a lot to me and my team also. I don't know how I could have gone through this earlier part of COVID without signing up for your program and all your encouragement. You've been through it, and I feel like you really understand. You understand what it's like, and you understand the internal struggles, and it means a lot to me to have someone like you who I can look to and feel understood so I can move forward.
And you're crushing it, so I'm incredibly excited for you. Thank you for saying that. I'm so happy for you, and everything that's coming next. Like, I hope like you guys crush it from here on out too. And obviously you're part of Platinum, so you're still stuck with me. I'll be seeing you.